can take my body, you can take my bones, you can take my blood, but not my soul. You can take my body, you can take my...
Welcome, everybody. I'm Desiree Dunbar, your host of the Modern Day Priestess Masterclass series, and I'm here with an incredible woman that actually inspired me to step onto the priestess path, or awoke something within me. I actually met her in person many moons ago at a very special event, and something within me kind of awakened to this remembrance, a remembrance of who I was and the power that was within me. And I'm so grateful for her to be here today and to share more about the mysteries of this very special day. And she's a creatrix of Goddess Rising Mystery School, welcoming Achintya.
Oh, thank you so much, Desiree, and to all of you that are here. It is a joy and a delight. Thank you, thank you. And yeah, so honored to be here.
It feels so
Thanks for
special.
creating this. Yeah, it does.
It's my pleasure. And we wanted to time this right in the Beltane season and this Beltane portal. And I know you can share a little bit more about the astrology around this and the auspicious quality of this particular day. So I just wanted to pass it over to you if you could explain.
Absolutely. Well, greetings and hello, everyone. And thank you again, Desiree. You look fabulous, by the way. So we are here in this season of Beltane. So today being May Day, the first day of May, is really honoring. It's like that Gregorian stamped calendar date where like it is May Day, it is Beltane. Oh my gosh, love is in the air. There's this like sensual delight kind of a feeling. And what's really powerful to know is that Beltane is actually more than just 1 day. So way back when there was this, when the church was like taking over and putting on their dates here and there for the different true high holy days, pagan celebrations, goddess worship. That's like when there was a shift of where we see, okay, very specific dates, May 1st. That's Beltane. Well, what's great to know, so you can tune into the cosmic energy and the earthy energy, is that it's more of a season. So, so that we can have this for this year, May 4th, 5th will be the actual time when the sun is at the exact midway point between spring equinox and summer solstice in the northern hemisphere. So that exact midway point is what we call solar Beltane, or it's really that's that midway point of Taurus. And why that's important to know is because Taurian energy, it's ruled by Venus. That is really the essence of Beltane. It is the part of us that is alive, that is sensually attuned. So all of our senses with the goddess of love embodied. So Venus ruling Taurus. Taurus is this fixed earth sign, bringing forth all of the beauty, because Venus is beauty and love, to the earth plane. So to the flowers, to the vegetables, to the trees. It's when because we're having more and more light towards summer solstice, means there's more and more growth that's happening within the earth and therefore within us. So that rising energy, that serpentine energy, the creative life force that's moving through all of creation to have the flowers bloom, where all the bees are buzzing to collect the nectar, that same energy is rising through us. And it is our innate power that is mirrored from the earth within our own bodies to feel and to be a part of creation. And when we think about this astrologically and then from an embodied perspective, we're having more and more light towards summer solstice, as I was saying. That can also be likened to our own womanly bodies of moving closer and closer towards ovulation. So when we think about summer solstice as being the real peak part of the year, we're moving in that direction. So there's more and more of that juiciness and life force moving through us. So this is the time of the lover. And it is the time where the divine masculine and the divine feminine meet together. But anyways, I can pause right there to just
Ooh. I
those
feel
are some of
that.
the,
I like
yeah.
it.
And those are some of the astrological energies. Actually, I will add one more thing, and just bouncing it back to you too. We also just had lunar Beltane. So we're actually in the time of this incredible event. We're in this season of Beltane where it was really initiated this specific year with the full moon in Scorpio. And so Beltane we can really enjoy then as a season between this marker of the 15 degrees of Taurus sun and whenever there is the full moon in Scorpio. So if you're already connected with Scorpio, you know where I'm going here is that Scorpio loves to go deep and brings forth the real primal power. We can think of a cave or deep, deep well, cave water, subterranean, serpentine, dragon, earthly energy that is rising up through us. So it's really that that's also where we're going when we think of Venus upon the earth. It's also deep within the earth. Therefore, it's deep within our own bodies. And that deep well water, we can think of it in our own womb spaces as the fluids that move through us, the ovulation fluids, the blood, the sexual fluids. This is the real embodied aspect of the above to the below to the within.
That's such a beautiful explanation. I've never heard it explained exactly that way. And it's so beautiful and visceral. And I love the way that you facilitate because it feels very embodied. I feel you even move when you're talking, and I can just feel that connection to the energy behind the words. And there's something about getting a transmission from a teacher, from a facilitator that's so powerful, just even being in the same space with them. Do you find that as well? Have you had teachers like that along your journey where you just feel like you're getting things by osmosis?
Yeah, I think that's really the important and the gift that it is to gather with women. It's like we're all learning from one another and we all have gifts to share. And when something is really lived and embodied and then it's shared, it's like, oh yeah, there is a frequency then that we get to feel to make it really visceral. So I think of that, I mean, as Venus. She is a constant teacher of mine. And so she's a living being. She's a planet, she's a frequency. And so that the way that she lives, the way that she moves and our relationship with her from our perspective on earth is so intricate and is so powerful that absolutely it's like, oh wow, you're constantly shifting and you're alive. And oh, now I get to live you. You get to get to commune with you in this way. So yeah, absolutely. And thank you for sharing that.
And has sensuality been something that came naturally that you embraced about yourself as a woman along your journey, or was that something that you learned or explored intentionally?
Yeah, I think it's the both and. If you look at my chart, definitely I've got Venus and Scorpio, so what we've just
Ah,
talked about there. So that's like, yeah, that's with my chart. I do feel that. I feel like I grew up with dance. Dance was my first love. And so that is just, yeah, that's the body, it's the movement, it's the music, it's the rhythm. So I feel like that's always been a part of me. I've loved rhythm. And then when we bring that to the mystical teachings, rhythm is such an important part of that. The rhythms of the moon, the rhythms of the earth, and our connection with these sacred rhythms and these sacred cycles. And then in my own body too. So yeah, it's definitely been a both and.
amazing. And I know you take women on retreats to sacred places where there's powerful ley lines and there's a frequency and the spirit of the land of these places. How does that support women with their personal growth to be in these sacred sites?
Yeah, that's a really beautiful question. Well, one way that I'm just thinking right now to liken it to is we think of the power centers within our own body, right? We can call them chakras. That's what we can, we have this common terminology and the meaning of this being a spinning wheel of energy inside of us. So as we are also earthly beings, we're from the earth herself has these incredible chakras or energy wheels. We think of the meridians within our own bodies and the acupoints within our own bodies. which come about through, so I have a background in traditional Chinese medicine, so this analogy. So we have the meridians in our bodies, and where there's different power spots on those meridians, or where meridians are crossing. This can also be likened to the energy lines within the earth and where there's those crossings. So when that happens, there's this electromagnetic field that is generated upon the earth. So an amplified frequency where we then are, as earth beings, attracted to, have resonance with, or can be magnetized to these places, because they really create a vibratory field, a frequency, which I can liken and say that brings us more home to our true nature, and supports and empowers there to be a release and a dissolving of whatever is not us to who we truly, truly are. And so when we are getting more and more authentic with who we are, then when we step into these places, sacred sites of power that have been, we can say they've been tended to by pilgrims from time immemorial. And when we bring our sacred intentions there, like, we're feeding that energy field. And then we're also able to receive. So it becomes, sacred reciprocity, the giving and the receiving. And actually, that is a lot about what Beltane really is about. Within the central mystery, sensual and central to that is an energy of sacred reciprocity.
That's amazing. That's beautiful. And Beltane would that originally been celebrated more in in Avalon in the UK and these more Celtic locations around the planet?
Yeah, so let's talk a little bit more about Beltane specifically. So what is interesting, so when we say the word then Beltane, it's really, I think, important to go to etymology, right? It's like, okay, well, what does this actually mean? So what's fabulous to know is that Bel and Beltane, it actually translates to bright fire. So the bell actually comes from, when we go way, way, way back, bell can actually be connected to the Akkadian Belu, which signifies Lord, or maybe master. It's a title rather than like a human name. And then we go to the feminine form Belit, and that's lady. So it's our Lord and our Lady. And this linguistically moves all through out Mesopotamia, Assyria, Babylon, Greek, Latin, etc. So we're coming from a long line here of etymology. And so this is the bright fire of our Lord and our Lady. So when we think of that bright fire, I always like to think of fire being, it is an element, and it's the element that bridges our humanity with our divinity. We light candles in sacred places. When we're coming into ceremony, we light the candles. It's like, oh, this brings us into a place where there's both spirit and there's matter. So, so this bright fire was, when you're asking this about Avalon, the UK, it definitely has Beltane as a name in this way for the festival. It is Irish. It is a Celtic high holy day or high holy season, but as I was saying, it has roots that go long, long before that. But what I will say is, in this day and age, even in Scotland right now, since 1988, I believe it was, they have resurrected this Beltane festival, where every year it is celebrated. The sacred marriage and enactment of Beltane is celebrated, which I can speak about more if we want to go there with like the mythology and like the meaning. But that is definitely, to answer your question and can sort of go beyond too.
I love it. I love hearing about these sacred mysteries and, where they connect, where they started from, and then how we implement or integrate or harness them in current day too, right? And I'm living here in Canada, and I have roots in that, being part Irish, part Scottish, and other things thrown in.
Yeah.
But then, we're in this such a melting pot. It's interesting to kind of get back to an essence of it too.
Yeah, absolutely. Because there's a reason why there have been these celebrations along the wheel of the year from time immemorial, because they are these power times. They are celebrated as ways of our connection of both our humanity and our divinity. And these are really the solar mysteries as well, being on Earth and going through the wheel of the year, where we have more light, more light, the peak of light, the waning of the light, the winter, and really embodying and being attuned to the rhythms of the cycles that constantly have so much to teach us and that we get to learn from. And then again, it's that sacred reciprocity. So how that is, we can say, is that, this time of Beltane, actually, let's take a step back. We can go to the time of spring equinox. It's another festival of the sacred marriage. And this is where we're getting the soils ready. And then it becomes the time of Beltane, where we're actually planting the seeds. That is likened to a garden. We can liken this to our own bodies and to the garden that is within us. And this would have been then in ancient times, and still relevant according to our own, rhythms of the body, of when it would be the right time to come together to create an impregnation and to celebrate the divine union. So this is why Beltane is so exciting and so delighting, because we're earthly creatures, and it's like we want to give ourselves permission to delight in sexuality and with spirituality and have them come together and not be separate. And I think that's something that many of us are yearning to experience, or that have separated them. And it's an opportunity, during Beltane, to actually consciously go, yeah, I want to be merging my humanity and my divinity. So I can share a bit more about some of the mythology that connects, so that we can then see, it's like, oh yeah, and how do I want to bring this alive in my own life? So when we think about these mysteries of Beltane and how it is, sensual, well, let's look to the Green Man and the May Queen, and then they're coming together. So this is a time where Beltane, it honors the sacred masculine aspect of nature, which is the Green Man. We can think of Osiris. I like to think of him as like the OG Green Man. But the Green Man, it's the male aspect of nature. It's that viral male god. It's the power of the man who is in connection to the earth, that will then experience a death and a rebirth to really become a king. So in the traditional ceremonies, we have this incredible processional, where the Green Man, he has the May Queen's maidens, or the handmaidens, assistants, who are bringing him into this procession of a death. And this is where he likens that this is the death of winter. So he has this death. He undergoes this ritual of releasing all that is not who he is. Currently, no longer anymore. This is him in the form of the Holly Lord. And then he dies. And so he has his own death of, just like what is naturally wanting to fall away, of course, in a man's life, aspects of self that are no longer serving. And he comes to be reborn, and he gets reborn as the young Oak Lord, or the Oak King. So then he's ready. He's now, this death and rebirth has brought him ready to then join with the May Queen. And so they come together in this very powerful ritual of fertility. And it's really required, like for any rebirth, right? It's required that there is some sort of a death. And so it's only, again, with winter's death that summer can be reborn. It's also here then where this ritual, it's the sacred marriage of the sun and the earth, of the sacred masculine and the sacred feminine, that then together they impregnate. It may be then that she becomes pregnant, but there's this impregnation within the earth with fertility for the lands. So, before, we'll just say a long time ago, the green man, before Christianization, he was represented as this powerful force, that growth, that virility. And it's an aspect that, the church is wanting to like hide. It's like, oh, that this isn't a part of, spirituality, but it is. We're human and we're divine. So, we're really, we have the outward nature reflecting to us our own potentiality and revelation and revolution and evolution. So that's this aspect of the green man, right? And there's a real beauty here. There's a joyous desire, and he's the energy of more and more light that is coming upon the earth. And again, as I was saying before, more and more light, more and more energy of passion. So when we look to the goddess of Beltane, it's the lady who is blossoming. It's the maiden who is becoming more and more evolved in her journey. And so she becomes the divine lover. So we're honoring her as the May Queen. She's our lady of love and of life. And she also has this deep desire. It's like her womb space is the garden that is coming into more and more, ovulation, more and more readiness for there to be a divine union. And so she herself has to undergo the journey of what it is to come from, maiden into lover, to bring forth innocence and joy that is united with passion. And this is how she then becomes the queen of her own body, her own emotions. And that's really, what I was sharing before, Desiree. It's like that sun that's Taurus, it's ruled by Venus. I mean, this is it right here. And that lunar scorpionic energy. So she is uniting her heart with her desires, her passion and her sensuality that longs for deep connection. So, she's us. And so we can feel this and know this, like this deep part of self that wants to be in love, that wants to allow freedom for desire, something that takes over where we're more than just our own selves, that we're in that transpersonal realm as well. So this is where she is, and she becomes the embodiment of the earth goddess, who is the May Queen. So together, this is the ancient sacred marriage, the Hieros Gamos. They unite as the bride and the bridegroom at the Beltane fire, where their alchemical dance, right? It's passionate, it's hot, it's sensual, and it's really the aspect of divine God, goddess moving through the human bodies to unite as one in passion, in pleasure, in spirit, in soul. And this then becomes not only just a personal experience, but that energy, then it's generated from that union to really be a blessing for the land. It's nourishment for the earth to bring about prosperity for the rest of the year. So this time of Beltane, really, then it's an opportunity for us to really listen to our own bodies and see what's being reflected from the earth, and utilize this time to, symbolically or literally become fertilized, right? To bring forth fertility. It's a time of regeneration for us. So it brings about this renewal and inspiration. And it's also one of these liminal times where we're sort of we're in time out of time. And this is where prophecy comes. This is where divination comes. And we can really utilize this time to step into that part of the infinite part of ourself, our soul self, to receive guidance, to receive inspiration. Our dreams may be more active at this time. So it's the invitation to get real intimate with ourself and then potentially with another. And as we devote, as we consciously attune to this energy, it does create, as I was saying, this sacred reciprocity. So it becomes a greening of the land. And in this way, it's like we offer our seeds, and then what happens is that fruit will grow. So when we step into that energy field, right, of that sacred reciprocity, then we're living in abundance. We are living attuned, and we're able to give, and we're really able to deeply receive. And that's the beauty and the cycle of life. So there's a sort of wrap up of the sacred Beltane fire, and what that is then too. Last thing I'll say is that with that Beltane fire, it's like they jump through the fire, they jump over the fire, and it consecrates their marriage. It consecrates the energy, and it creates purification. So may this really be a time to inspire us, right, for purification, for our own death and a rebirth of renewal and reinvigoration.
Reinvigoration. I love that. Wow. That was a beautiful explanation. I love the way you explain things in a kind of story form too. It's like we can just be right there in the scene, and it makes it so tangible and real, and we can feel it in our bodies too. It's really beautiful.
Yeah.
How important is the gods and the goddesses, like in a kind of Wiccan spirituality where there might be a devotion to both? Do you do that in your work, or do you focus more on one or the other?
I think it's a both and. I think we're really living in a unique time right now where, I mean, it's so important. Yes, it's the divine masculine and the divine feminine. It's really ultimately in the essence of union, it's sacred union. So it's heaven and earth together. It's the masculine and feminine together. And it is really important at this time. I feel it's like most of my work, yes, it is with women, but we go to those places of, okay, yes, with partnership, if it's a, heterosexual relationship, in partnership in that way. But the relationship that we have with father, son, partner, the divine masculine within, we can't exile half of creation. That's what's happened with the goddess. So we're not wanting to exile, the sacred masculine, but it's often, I have found, it is really important to generate a lot of the energy of the sacred feminine, and then we bring in the masculine that's there as well. And it really depends per person. Some women are really connected with their masculine self, and it's harder to soften into part of the feminine. So, we're made up of both, and it's important that there is, I believe, it's that dance of the sacred union and partnership together, because that's the beauty of the polarities that get magnetized together, which is high magic. All of creation is based on those polarities uniting, and they are within us.
I love that. What is your definition of magic, and what does magic do to us as humans?
Oh, wow. It's like a whole, I was like, this is where Ancient
That's
Priestess.
a whole thesis series of books.
Yeah. Well, so the last Egypt Priestess pilgrimage that I guided, the theme was Heka of the Hathor. So Heka means magic. And so magic in this way, it's like it is the in Heka in ancient Egypt, it's like it is the proper words with the proper intonation, with the proper rhythm and the proper timing. So it very much has to do with the spoken word, with intention. And that really is where we get to, I believe, the root of the spelling. We cast spells. That is, as an example. And so with that spelling, it does come to our word, because it's the power that we have within us that gives forth the clarity through sacred sound to bring forth an invocation, a declaration, a prayer. So creating magic is really attuning to the intention that we have from a place of authenticity in our heart, knowing that whatever is to be conjured or created is really to be a blessing to benefit all beings everywhere, right? Where there's no, that is first and foremost. And therefore, from that place, it's entering into that space where we're co-creating with spirit. We're co-creating with the elementals. We're co-creating with one another. So it's like there's all these different layers of what magic, I can say, can or the different ingredients to create magic. And so I really love this question because I do think that is something that is really important for our lives is magic. And in some ways it's like, yeah, how do you define magic? Because it's like it's the unspeakable, but yet we know it and we feel it. And we know that when we bring these sacred ingredients together, authenticity of the heart, intention, perhaps together with others who have that same held intention at the right place, at the right time, with clear intention and no expectation. And let's wait and see, well, what happens here. And that creates awe and wonder and brings us more into the truth of who we are as both human and divine.
When did you first notice magic?
Wow.
When did you first feel, maybe as a child, or maybe it was
Yeah, I was thinking, like, I would say that I've had experiences that were just innate, but I didn't necessarily have a word to describe that until much later. So for me, when I was very young, it still happens for me now, but it was very, very prominent when I was young, and like really little. And this would just be a part of me. Yeah, it's just like my ongoing experience of life. To close my eyes and seeing fractals of light moving, golden light, patterns, toroidal fields of energy. And I remember lying on my bed one day, I must have been maybe 6, maybe that was the age. I was like, I'm going to do an experiment here. I remember I was like, okay, I have my eyes open and I'm looking to okay, this is this reality. Because I probably didn't have the term of reality, but I was like, okay, this is this part of life, and close my eyes. I'm like, and then this is this part. And then, yeah, seeing all of the energy move within. So I think that's what I can say is probably the first time. And I actually had this experience just last week too. When the clouds when it's a bright day, but yet there's clouds, sometimes it can be hard to, can be really bright on the eyes. But sometimes what I'll do, especially in that weather, it's almost like it's a blank canvas and I just soften my eyes. Yeah. And I begin to see it's like those light fractals that are moving and like lights that are dancing and dancing. And that has been just a beautiful, I don't know if I want to say practice, but communion where it's like, yeah, it's literally seeing energy in matter, and that like bridge, like that's the gateway in there. So yeah, those are a couple little tidbits.
When you were a kid, speaking of being a kid, did your caregivers support you and nurture you in this way to be able to have these experiences of artistry, dancing, and the magic and your connection to nature? Or was that something you discovered on your own?
I think I was encouraged. Yeah, well, I was definitely encouraged. My mom's an artist, so she definitely encouraged me, with paints and clay and creativity that way. And I was really drawn, yes, to the arts, to dance, to writing, to to painting, and then also a real deep connection to the earth and to nature. And so I definitely was encouraged to, and continue in that way, whether that be like playing outside and creating forts and picking cherries and like jumping in the leaves, to going to, camps in the summer that were really immersed with nature experiences. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm so lucky to have that. That's wonderful. And
Yeah.
you're so eloquent with words. I was thinking about this earlier today. Like one of your superpowers, I think, is just eloquence with words. And you're speaking about spells and spelling and I think our words are spells, and I
Yeah.
know you use them in this invocation way, and anytime you speak, and you really, you hold space in such a beautiful way, in that embodied way, and with words. What about, do you have a book in the works? Are you thinking about writing a book? Anything like that coming down the pipeline? Because I just would imagine it would just be one of
Oh,
your superpowers to bring that into.
oh, well, thank you. I really appreciate that. That's a really kind and authentic reflection. So thank you. Um, yeah, because yeah, I think from quite an early age, I recognize like, yeah, our words have great power and we must wield them well. Very power and yeah, this just like leads into so much with like women and our voices and reclamation of power and all of that, which is so huge and a whole other topic of conversation. But yeah, thank you for that. And there are some things in the works, and that's all I can say right now.
I just had an inkling. I'm like,
Yeah, you did. You caught on.
I-
So,
well, we can't wait. Whatever it
oh,
I know it's going to be amazing.
oh,
And, it's part of your legacy too, right? It's the things that we will continue to give and give and give. And I think that's really powerful. And yeah, I really commend you for what you're working on.
thanks, Lovey. I really appreciate it. And this word legacy is really powerful and important too. I think we're at a time where, I mean, this isn't like directly related to belting, but but it's like, but in a way it can be because, people's legacies yeah, come right from this time, the legacy of children, the legacy of lineage. Um, but yeah, that is definitely something that comes to mind for me too, because I've chosen, it's like, I'm not having physical children. So it's like these other creations are, and my work in the world, it's like, that is the family or that is the children. Those are the creative babies that get birthed. And so that legacy, yeah, I think is really important. And I do feel that it's like, okay, what is it that I want to, I don't even just want to say leave behind, because it's like, I think we think of legacy as once somebody has passed. I'm like, no, we're like legacy now as we're alive, but but with the understanding or understanding that, yes, it's like that this is going to affect and impact at least 7 generations ahead of us.
Yeah,
So yeah, I love to think of legacy in that way. It's like, okay, yeah, what am I here to contribute that's going to
mhm.
last for 7 generations? So yeah, it's one of my favorite words. Thank you for bringing legacy. It's
That's
powerful.
amazing. I remember I'm a dancer, and I remember asking the artistic director at the time, I said, did you ever want to have kids? She didn't have any children. I was probably in my early 20s, and I was kind of, thinking about how these things work in the world when you're a dancer. And she just said, I know I didn't want to have kids because this is my life. This is my life's work. And everything I create is like having children, and you being in my dance company, like you're like my
Yes,
children as well. And I thought, oh, wow, I've never heard a woman talk about that before. And it just really like it was like a light bulb moment for me at the time that that's an option. Wow. And then to choose,
right?
and I don't have kids either, but to choose not to, thinking about the energy, through the ancestral lineage of all the women in my family that have had children. And probably a lot of them didn't even want to, but it was expected of them. And I get to choose, and how much of a privilege that actually is. Yeah.
Absolutely, because the yin you still have, and I still have, and women who choose not to have children, it's a universal motherhood that is here, and the ways in which we then, you know, can say, well, the energy that would be going into the beautiful mothering of raising a child also then goes into other things which are creating more of the birthing, we can say, of a new timeline in our world right now. I think that there's a lot of women more and more who are also choosing not to have children, but they are here to bring about the birthing of another paradigm onto this planet, who are change makers. And so like with our unique gifts and our artistry. And so, yeah, commending all of us at this time who choose to have children, who choose consciously not to have children, that, we all have our unique paths of how we're going to want to, bring forth our gifts to contribute and bring those motherly qualities into the world.
And I know you've been deepening your relationship with the baby of your school, which is your mystery school. How many years have you had your mystery school operating?
And it's, well, like, what year are we? It's like 24 at the time of this recording.
Yeah.
The real clarity of its creation and coming to be happened in 2012 in a conscious way. I kind of knew that it was happening unconsciously in another way, but it really formed, sort of the next year. So it's been a decade.
Yeah, that's incredible.
Or just over. No, it's been over a decade. It's been, it's been about 12 years. It's been 12 years since that real sort of inception and like, okay. And then went into that gestation and the growing and then the actual birth of it. And then, the different stages and phases. Yeah. Time goes by so fast.
Oh my gosh. Does it ever? What's the biggest thing you learned about yourself in those 10 to 12 years?
Oh my gosh. I have no idea. So much. I'm like, oh my gosh.
I imagine you feel like you're a different person, or maybe more that you're more of yourself after that.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, I definitely didn't know at the beginning, I would say that like what would grow and what would become. And and I think that beautiful impact, like I had a couple calls today before our journey together here today. And to just hear what some of the women were sharing about their experience, and within our trainings, within me in our connection together. And I think what's been really interesting to recognize is sort of like I'm just me. I'm doing my thing. I'm devoted. I'm here to contribute. But when I also receive from women about the deep impact and homecoming that they have felt, in their like different ways of experience, it's like it moves me so deep in the heart where it's like, this is why I'm here, and it's like, sometimes I guess I don't realize like how much of an impact can be created or is created, and saying this from a real, just like, grounded place. And that, like, it really, really, it touches me in a way that's like, and then it's like, great. And then from this, then it's like your gift and the way that you contribute. And it just like, I think of it as like this blooming rose, and like a flower of life. And I think I've learned a lot of resilience that I have, and like, and hard work. There's a lot of real, just like, but I'm arrived at this place, where I just feel like I'm doing what I'm meant to be doing, and I'm going to continue to do this until, well, who knows how long until it's meant to be. But I think I'm going to take that question that you've just asked and see what else for myself, like what wants to be received there, because I think it's a very powerful self-reflection. But there's so much in that 12 years that I just wouldn't have never known at the beginning would take place. And I think what I could say for myself, for anybody that's listening too, is when you have a dream, when you have an inner knowing of where you're meant to walk, just even that next step, it's like, that's all you can take is that one next step. So you have to take that step. That step is going to lead to the next step, which is going to lead to the next step. And I think it's a really important and powerful time on the planet to be really listening to that. Going, is this how I'm meant to be living or walking or contributing, or my job or whatever that is? And just getting real honest that it's like, if it's not, then what is? And to get into that trajectory and that path or that river, what is where your authenticity is aligned, because that's where your power is, that's where the gifts are, that's where your impact is. And I feel it's like we need all of our hands and our hearts on deck to be supporting and to be empowering um, a great awakening and healing and transformation that's happening within the hearts of humanity and upon the earth. I mean, we're living in prophetic times. We're living in just, I mean, I've been trying to actually think of what that word is right now, but really at a precipice. We're in a threshold of transition in this lifetime, and it's such a profound blessing and opportunity.
Well, thank you for creating such beautiful work in these cauldrons where women can come in and be safely held in this transition time so they can be refueled and regenerated and then go out and do their good work, myself included. I've been to your circles and they're incredible, and it helps you feel like this is possible, this is doable. Now I can get out there and hit the ground running. And then sometimes, you need to come back in and have that safe haven space, and I think that's what you provide.
Yes,
Yeah.
we so need that. I
Yeah.
mean, I liken it's the temple, it's like it's a mystery school, but there's that aspect where it's the temple. The mystery school is that temple where we come to, like, I can think of it, it's like coming to the well. Like, we all need to go to the well. We need to get nourished. We need to go meet others at the well. We need to bathe. We need to purify. We need to drink. And then that supports us to then, yeah, as we go out with all of our daily responsibilities in our life, and also really be attuned to our gifts and to our greater why of being here.
Thank you. And I know you have a beautiful course and I think a PDF to support us and going a little deeper with this on the Priestess path, and to be able to use in the coming days and weeks and year ahead. Please share a little bit more about that.
Yeah, so we got two gifts. It's the time of prosperity.
Bring it on.
So the first is, it's the Goddess Rising Moon Map. So it's a way for you to track if you're in your bleeding years, you're tracking your sacred cycle, but it's beyond just your actual physicality. It's your emotions, spirituality, feelings, astrology. You can bring and if you're beyond your bleeding years, you can still bring this in because it works with the energetics of the moon cycle. So you're looking at how your inner womb space is connected with the outer moon, so that you can really be looking at your sacred rhythms and then being able to plan your life in a way that is in resonance with your own body, not just with the Gregorian calendar. So that's one of them. And I will say that after you utilize this for about 3-4 months, you can really start to see other patterns. Sometimes in your dreams, oh wow, I really dream when the moon is in Pisces, or it's like, oh yeah, this part of my own cycle, I know that, like, I get really irritated here. So, okay, I'm going to abstain from these things and I'm going to do these things instead. So it's a real good reflection marker. And then the second is, it's a mini course. It's an introduction to the Rose Priestess path, and it's called Priestesses Rising. And so we have a limited time coupon code that will be on this page here. And so offering it to you for free. And it is this 3-part series to introduce the Rose Priestess path. And it is from myself and also my dear beloved co-sister guide, Amaya Cohen, who has been a part of your previous masterclass series. So it's really from both of us. And it is a journey, 3 parts, with Mary Magdalene, with Hathor, and Mother Mary, for you to attune to part of these, we can say, this template that is upon the Rose Priestess path for yourself, of these 3 Magdalene flames of love that live within. So how to get really connected to strengthen that part of your spiritual esoteric anatomy, we can say, in connection with these Rosa Mystica guides. So that is here as well. It's full of an introduction to the Venus path cycle, to the Rose Priestess path, and to each of these guides. So enjoy, enjoy, enjoy.
Thank you. You're so generous. Thank you so, so much. Anything else on your heart as we close out on this special Beltane day, May Day, and heading into the next few days, really, this whole portal?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Let's enjoy. Beltane is a season of delight. So may this be an opportunity to really, delight in your body, bring forth the energies upon the earth. Flowers in your hair. We should be wearing flowers in our hair. So I'm just going to take this rose. Okay, this rose, an offering of this rose. To you, Desiree, to all of you listening. And yeah, flowers in your hair, delighting in the sensual delights of Beltane. A couple other things that just coming to mind. It's a wonderful time, which I'm doing this too, of purification in the house. So it's like letting go of things. That's part of the death, right? It's like, okay, I don't need this anymore. So we're making space for this next part of the cycle, the beauty to come in. So part of that death, okay, is this bringing me joy? Is this useful? Okay, no, bye. And then really allowing for that space to, so that you can more freely express, you can lighten up literally and energetically. And be in this time of celebration to delight in the earth, to delight within our own bodies, with one another. And I thank you so much, Desiree, for hosting, for having me and all the other incredible speakers, and really for your contribution by you being who you are and all that you offer, and really impart through your presence and through your generous heart and the impact that you're creating. I see you, and I'm so grateful for you. Thanks for having me.
You're so welcome. Thank you for that. Received. Yes. Thank you for giving us that permission. So everybody, you've been given permission. Go delight in this day. Enjoy, have fun, put on some music, dance around, let that fertility energy come in, and allow yourself to blossom as you so deserve.
That's right.
Thanks, darling. Thank you so much for joining us today. I really appreciate you taking the time out to speak with me and to share with our beautiful community here.
Thank you. It's such an honor. So much love, everyone. Blessed Beltane.
It's a long, long way from where we've been. The